Hello, hello, hello. Let me get organized here. Welcome to my hashtag Tuesday training. While I was getting ready, I was thinking about the Daily Show welcome, and I still want some sort of really cool opener, like this is the Daily Show with Dr. Megan Fisk, but I don't have it yet. One of these days. What we are doing tonight is really an extension of July's Stories That Sell challenge. I've got fuzz floating in the air because I've realized that, I've been watching some of your stories and doing more of the Stories That Sell intensives that I offer that we've got a couple mistakes happening. And so I thought, why not come on and do one more training on storytelling and what we need to know. Like, I made the title a little dramatic, the 5 mistakes that are killing your stories and how to fix them. And I'll also tell you guys a little bit about my favorite storyteller in today's training. But to start off, I really like drawing a nice little tarot card intention. And I think I told you guys the other week, I got this new deck that I'm obsessed with. And I really do love tarot and making sure that we're just all aligned and working towards our greatest good. So let's see what sort of intention we get for the week with telling our stories. Oh, she just kind of popped out. We got the Hermit card. Probably a little break is needed. I like the Hermit. She's so fun. It's like a week for reflection, for tying up loose ends, going inside. Love it. And she's so pretty. I'm going to show you guys the card again. Isn't she fun? Okay. Enough with all of my fun things. And you can see my desk. So we got back from Iowa the other day, and I'm on my way to California tomorrow. And I'm so looking forward to doing a little bit of relaxing, get a little vacation time in. But of course, I'll still be here on Thursday for Throat Chakra Thursday. And so I'll actually start with some announcements right here off the top, which are one, August challenge. Like that. I was doing a drum roll. The August challenge, I'm about to change all of the banners here in the group, is going to be all about finding your core message. So I'm calling it Unlock Your. Oh, I just made the title earlier. Here, I've got it up here. Unlock Your Authentic Message is what it is. And we're going to work for 5 days on what is your core message, because your core message is really the foundation for the speaking system that I teach, so that public speaking can be fun and easy. So I know a lot of people have problems really deciding what is that one message that they're here to share. And this challenge is going to be amazing for you. I'm going to bring on past clients and current clients of mine too that have really gone deep with me into what is their core message and what's their purpose for speaking. Why are they so passionate about sharing their topic? And then how do we use their core message throughout their speaking events and throughout their messaging to grow their business and actually make money from their core message? So super excited for that. And today's topic, though, let's dive in. Oh, there was one other announcement that I had. So actually start piloting on Thursday for Throat Chakra Thursday, a 40-day challenge. So it'll be for, a little bit of time in August, 2 challenges at once in the group. And it's more of an informal challenge, though, because I know there's quite a few of you that catch all of my lives. You've opened all of my emails. I can see you, not to be in a creepy way. And you haven't gone live yet or reached out for support. And I know a couple tips and tricks. I actually developed this 40-day course last October, and I never did anything with it. And I was like, you know what? I think it's time to pull it out. And I came across it in my files the other day and was like, let's do it. So it's going to be a 40-day throat chakra opening course. And there'll be some fun affirmations to do every day around really feeling safe and centered. And I think they go really hand in hand between the August unlock your authentic message, and then this 40-day throat chakra opening course that I've been wanting to pilot. So lots of things happening here in the group. But without further ado, let's jump into our topic for today. So the 5 mistakes that are killing your stories and how to fix them. Let me get my screens organized over here. So first one, really related to what I was just saying. Take a guess if you're watching it. What do you think? Either if you're catching it live or in the replay, what do you think is the number one mistake people are making? So, might not be what you think it is, but the number one mistake I see is that you're not sharing stories still, right? You're jumping on, you're sharing all kinds of factual information or all kinds of things, but you're not really sharing the story. And so to walk my walk, I want to tell you guys today about one of my favorite storytellers of all times and taught me so much about stories, which is my mom. So my mom is super inspirational. She's not only raised 6 kids, I'm the youngest of 6. If you didn't know, I've got 5 older brothers. And she's also overcome a lot of health challenges. Now she's an amputee, but she wasn't always. I guess no one starts an amputee. But about over 10 years ago now, she had her right leg amputated after a series of health complications with really like her whole right side of her body. But the reason I'm bringing her up in, I'll actually share one of her stories in the comments so you guys can see like the beauty of my mom that goes into like the second mistake that I see a lot of people making is like she's able to say once, like instead of just saying a sentence, instead of just telling us something, she really shows us and puts in the moment. And it takes what sometimes might seem like a long time, but she's so descriptive, right? And that's really like by talking about my mom today, I wanted to show you guys a couple quick changes you can make to really fix the second mistake. So mistake number 1, to recap, is you're not actually telling them stories, right? You think you're telling a story, or you're just sharing a lot of factual information, but you're not telling those stories that are going to build that know, like, and trust factor. Go back to a past training from over a month ago now on why it's important to build the know, like, and trust factor. And I'm like drilling it into your heads all the time because it is just so important. And sharing your stories, being vulnerable and sharing more about who you are in this world and all of that really does build that connection with your audience. So mistake number 2, holding up my 2 fingers here, is you're like telling people your story instead of showing it to them. So you show, don't tell. And I work with my clients on this one a lot. So let me give you an example first to tell you the difference. So my mom could have said something like, and I'll share this story with you all. She started, she's not the most consistent, but she started a little like Medium column to share stories of all of us growing up. And one of the ones, and I'll read you this like excerpt from it. So as I got the older boys out the door to school, I noticed that we had ice coming down. I was undaunted by it because the forecaster said it would soon change over to rain with a little accumulation. But as I started out the door with our little children, I made my first mistake of the day. I decided to wear my tennis shoes so I didn't have to run around all day in my bulky snow boots. Finally, ready to go, I looked outside and our steps were covered with ice. Not wanting to fall carrying out our little ones, I walked each one of them backwards down the steps. As I buckled each one of them into their seats, I finally breathed a sigh of relief, right? And so she's got a lot going on. She's painting this mental image for you of like, oh, wait, no, like the rain, it might rain later, it might not. And this is the mistake I see a lot of people making though, is she's still actually telling us what she did, right? She walked the kids down the stairs backwards instead of saying like the crunch of the ice or the ice crunched every step that I took while the kids were going to the car. Maybe the forecasters were wrong when they said that the ice would turn to rain. So I've got a couple more examples to read you guys so you can get a better feel for it. So the first one, like this is example of what not to do and then what to do. So Joey was afraid. There was a storm. The lights went out. The lights suddenly went out. Right? Instead say, in the darkness, the wind and rain grew louder and seemed closer. Joey sat still, his heart beating fast. It made a thump, thump, thump noise in his chest. Right. And you see how like that one is much more dramatic and it's really putting you in the scene instead of Joey was afraid and there was a storm. It's like, what senses are we using? And so this is how you fix this, right? If you find yourself telling instead of showing, is you start to engage all 5 senses. So here we hear the thump, thump, thump of Joey's chest, right? Here's another one. Bill was frightened. He thought someone was behind him. But that's a what not to do. Here's a what to do. It seemed a shadow had fallen over him, but there was no shadow. His heart had given a great jump up into his throat and was choking him. Then his blood slowly chilled, and he felt the sweat of his shirt cold against his flesh. And so this comes from Jack London's All Gold Canyon. And you can see like Bill was frightened. He thought someone was behind him versus it seemed a shadow had fallen over him, but there was no shadow. And then the description of your heart being in your chest or in your throat choking, right? That is such a more vivid image. And so let me walk you through the 5 senses that you can use. So practice adding these in one by one. And what you can actually do is a quick exercise right now. While you're watching this, follow along and I'll do it with you, is describe where you are, right? Describe what the physical location is for me. So first, what do you see? For me, I see my tarot cards over here, right? I have not really hundreds, more scattered around my desk. My nickname growing up was Megan a Mess, like making a mess, because I'm just messy by nature. I like to have, I know where everything is. But anywho, I have tons of Post-it notes around. I have my kombucha and a notebook and a pen ready to go, right? Those are the things that I see. Then what's the sound? There's a low humming sound coming from my laptop. I can hear my new puppy upstairs screaming. I don't think you guys can hear her though. And then there's almost like a stillness in between her cries that makes me think maybe she's about to fall asleep. And in the far, far distance, I hear the neighbor's car's music. Then what do you smell? So I smell the lavender oil that I had put on before I do a live. It's part of my pre-speaking ritual to make sure that I've calmed myself down and my throat chakra is open, that I'm ready to go for the day. What do I touch? You know, I've got my microphone. I might be grasping for dear life, not really, but I have something else I see is my ring light. And I can almost touch how bright it is in my eyes. It's hard to like keep my eyes open. Might be one of the things that I feel too. And then what do I taste? Is my kombucha, really, right? Like, and so then you combine them all together, right? So something like this, but not necessarily this. I came up with it before I got on and did the live, but surrounded by Post-it notes, I'm going live with all of you to share the storytelling mistakes so you can become better speakers that engage more folks in your work and make more money in your business. The smell of lavender oils filling my nose, relaxing me, reminding me not to take things so seriously. I taste the faint smell of kombucha and hear my new puppy in the background. And just by describing and like situating myself in the space, you start to see how, hopefully, let me know in the comments if you need more examples. And I'd love to see your guys' description of your space, how much more descriptive you can be, and how these little details added throughout stories builds that know, like, and trust factor. And so let's dive into mistake number 3, because I know this is probably where some of your guys' brains go, is thinking that your audience doesn't care about these details, right? I could easily sit here and think, no one cares that I was called Megan a mess. No one cares that I have 5 older brothers. No one cares that I've got a new puppy. Like, they just came to me to find out the 5 mistakes that they're probably making when they're telling a story. And, they just don't care. But that's honestly not true. And for proof, like, put in the comments, be like, hashtag I care, to show other people and to normalize it, that like people really do want that personal connection. In today's day and age, you could easily Google how to become a storyteller, right? But I know, because you're in this group, that you connect to me personally for one of these reasons, right? Or that you want more of this one-on-one touch, that this is like the attention that you want in your life. And so then I know that like I can be more open, that I can be more vulnerable and share the way I want to share, because this is what's so fun about running your own business, everyone. In case you didn't know, it's like there's no rules. Hashtag no rules. Like, you get to do whatever you want to do. And it's so freeing and so liberating. And I love it so much. And I want each one of you to know that like you can follow these rules if you want and be like, Megan, this is a mistake. And there's tons of people though that are making all of these mistakes and are still successful. So because people connect on different levels. So this is just my way of doing it, right? And bring it back to this mistake, is it's really like a mindset mistake that people don't care what you have to say. And if I could shift one thing for each and every one of you in this group, it's that your message is so freaking important right now and so needed. And there's so many people that do care what you have to say, that like if you could see that potential like I see it, you would feel so much duty and so much like hope for getting your message out there and making the change in the world, to make people healthier, right? To make the world more peaceful, to make the world more just. And so that's really that third mistake, is letting that mean girl voice, is what I think of her as, Regina George, in the back of your head be like, no, like no one cares, but hashtag people care. Okay, so let's move on then to this fourth mistake, because they go hand in hand. They all kind of build on each other. So this fourth one is to explain the motivation for like why the story was the way that it was. It's very easy as an audience to think, oh, wait, like, why didn't she just like leave the situation? Like I was reading for the second mistake and more stories about like being really scared. And it's like, well, why didn't he just flip on the light? Why did he stay there in the darkness and feel the shadow behind him? Right. And this was like the other thing to mention, is good stories have two things. They're coherent and they're fidelis. Like there's Walter Fisher, he's a big narrative theorist. And so stories have to ring true. Like we have to think that it's possible. Otherwise our brain is like, oh no, that's like not a thing, right? And so you want to make sure that you're telling true stories. First of all, right? Like if someone comes up to you afterwards and says, is that true? That you're able to go, yeah, that really did happen, right? Or if they ask, did that happen? You can say yes, like take some dramatic liberties, of course. And make sure though that like in your heart, you feel good about it and can pull it off, because people can tell when there's like that tinge of inauthenticity to your message, and then they're not going to trust you, right? They're always going to feel like there's just something I can't quite put my finger on. And so along the same lines, like, you want to be true. And so to finish up with Walter Fisher, like, it has to ring true, and then it has to be coherent. It needs that beginning, middle, and end. And what tends to happen is that we forget to explain that underlying motivation behind it, right? So going back to the story of my mom walking around through the ice, the important piece of information you didn't know is that it was Valentine's Day. She had one sick kid that she was trying to take to the doctor, and she had to drop off the Valentine's Day cookies for the party for another one, and this whole full day that was soon to be unraveled. And so you want to make sure, though, that at some point in my mom's story, she needs to explain like that motherly duty, that sense of obligation that she felt to make those things happen. It's kind of tough for my mom to have a speech coach for her daughter because she does a lot of speaking too. I'm always like, oh, what if you like tweaked that little thing, Mom, or do that sort of thing. So it's funny. Okay. Fifth mistake, wrapping things up here, is it's really the thing that I like harp on you guys about all the time, is to have that so what. So the fifth mistake is not having it, right? Telling a story for seemingly no purpose. Maybe in your mind, there's like such a clear connection between what you're saying and what you want the audience to take away from it, or like what that overall lesson is, but they don't see it. And so you always want to use, or you always want to relate to your audience goals and desires. So I know each one of you in this group wants to become a better speaker, wants to be able to more effectively communicate about their business to their ideal dream clients, right? And so that's why I go through and do like things like Tuesday trainings or Throat Chakra Thursdays, is to help you accomplish your goals and desires. And so as a speaker, you need to tell your audience that so what, right? And so here's a couple phrases you can use. That's important because, or, so what does that tell us? Or that example taught me that, ... So those three phrases, I'll say them one more time in a second, all really connect and like act as that transition or bridge to get you to what that lesson is for the stories that you want to tell. So that's important because ... was the first one. The second one, what does that tell us? And the third one, that example taught me that ... right? And so if you read my mom's story, like I said, I'll put it in the comments. Her so what is this point of gratitude, this moment where she's able to reflect back after raising 6 kids, having teenagers for 15 years, and think about like the community of support that she built around herself, and all of that, and be just so thankful for it, and like ties it into asking for her, or like asking the audience or like her readers to also start to cultivate gratitude within their own lives. And especially like, I know I have a lot of younger moms or moms of teenagers even in my group too. I think if my mom was here, what she would say is appreciate each of those moments, because someday your kids are your oldest will, or like your youngest will be 32 like I am. And I'm feeling a little guilty today for not calling my mom. So I should hashtag call my mom. But cultivate that gratitude for in the moment. Overarching message of my mom's piece. And let me do a quick recap here, and then I'm going to run through the announcements I went through at the top for those of you watching live, so you can know what's happening in the group over the month of August. I can't believe we're in August already, you guys. I'm going to take a drink. Okay, let me come back up here. Mistake number 1. This you're making is you're not telling stories, right? That was mistake number 1. So how can you fix it? You can start telling stories. And there's a blog up on my website. It's meganriquet.com that has how to get started telling stories if you missed the Stories That Sell challenge back in July. And that course, the challenge becomes a course that will be available on my website soon too. And second mistake is that you're telling us instead of showing us your stories, right? And I walked us through the exercise of really engaging all 5 of our senses in how we're going to tell our stories, because it's so important. And then number 3 was the mindset shift to know that your audience really does care about you and really does want to know who you are and what you do, and more beyond just like your expertise, right? Like they want that personal connection with you. Number 4 is to explain the motivation. Explain a little bit more about like what that sense of duty was that you felt, what that mindset was in your story for why you took the actions that you took. And then the 5th mistake I see people making is not having that so what, not connecting the dots for their audience to what the larger goal of and what the larger reason was for sharing the story. So you want to make sure, and this ties in perfectly to what the August challenge is, which is unlocking your authentic message, because your so what is almost always going to be that core message, that true authentic part of yourself that's not going to change. That's the reason why you're here, the reason why you're a speaker, that one truth that in this moment you know is going to change the world. And so if you're not 100% sure what that is, or you've never really spoken it out loud, right? Then the August challenge, it starts August 17th, is for you. And if you're feeling a little uncertain and a little like, oh, this is scary, Megan. Starting Thursday, I'm going to be doing Throat Chakra Thursday, the 40-day challenge that's going to have a couple affirmations and different exercises to do together over 40 days. So it's a bit of a test pilot. We'll see how it goes. I'm super excited for it. Let me know what you're excited for in the comments as you're watching this later. And I hope you all have a beautiful week. And I'll be back next Thursday this coming Thursday with Throat Chakra Thursday, and the next Tuesday with another training topic. So if there's ever something that you're like, hey, Megan, I really want to know more about this part of speaking, just let me know. And maybe I will be able to work it in to. So I'll see you guys soon. Bye-bye.